Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the USC Aiken, uh, the second annual National Distance Learning Week virtual conference. I really appreciate you participating this year and hope you have enjoyed the session so far. And thank you for being up this early with us this morning. Um, this morning at 9 o'clock, we have Winona Hatcher, who is an instructional designer at Georgia Regents, which will soon be Augusta University. She's going to give a webinar on creative approaches to giving feedback. Should you want access to her handout, in the bottom right of your screen, if you click on the title and then click download files, you will get some on-screen instructions on downloading that file to your computer. Then you can print and save or do as you wish with that handout. Please leave any comments or questions in the chat area, and I will help Winona moderate those. And if you're ready, Winona, you can take it away.
All right, good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about creative approaches to giving feedback. And as we do this journey, I want to make sure that we talk about and explain what feedback is. And also there are different types of feedback, and then explain screencasting, and then list a variety of ways that we can do video as a method for feedback. Now when you see this picture, that means I want you to participate. So this is a little bit interactive. So right now, can you tell me what you do, what your position is? And where you work? What school? University? All right, Tasha's an instructional designer. Veronica, Director of Distance Learning. Okay, see a couple more typing. All right, and Artemis Jones, he works with me. And then, hi, David, Director of Distance Education at Upstate. So welcome, everyone. So whenever you see this, if you don't mind, if you would just type the response in the chat area. All right, feedback. What is it? What do you think feedback is? Can't see people typing. Okay, information directed at the source of the input. Directions, comments on performance. Okay, I'm loving it, I'm loving it. Okay, see a couple more people. Giving suggestions and ideas on how to improve something. Yeah, I love this. Details on improvement. Great. Okay, great. I love it. All of those things are great explanations for what feedback is. Well, for this presentation, I'm looking at feedback as information about a person's performance of a task that can be used as a basis for improvement. But why do we need to provide feedback? One of the things to think about with that is, well, before I say that, why do you think we need to provide feedback to the students or anyone? To know how to improve or progress. I like that. To know what was done well and what you need to change. To alter or improve a system. David, you sound like you might be an IT person. Nope, just a geek. I got you. Engagement. All of these are great answers and responses. I love it. Okay, I see one more. In the chat. Oh, evaluate your performance and collaboration. I hadn't thought about collaboration. Well, what we want to do is we want to help the learner gain understanding of what they need to perform or what they need to learn, just like you guys said. Okay. When we think about feedback, if you don't give feedback, it's still feedback. What do you think about that statement? If you don't give feedback, it's still feedback. Negative and positive. Nah. Continuous communication and silence. Okay. Great, great, great ideas. I love it. You can ignore it. Oh, lack of care. Okay, Anna's ahead of me. She must see my slides. Well, actually, when you do fail to give feedback, it does send a nonverbal communication to the person. And so if someone says it's determining whether something is working or not. Lack of faculty presence, especially online. Oh, I love it. And when you do that, it gives mixed messages, okay, to the person. So when we think about feedback, we want our learners to think about how they can maximize their potential, how we can raise their awareness of strengths and areas of improvement, and all of these things you guys said, and also to identify actions to improve their performance. Okay. Now, what do you think happens when feedback is not given? Some of you guys said already. You said like there's not a presence. You don't. Seems like you don't care. You're being ignored. But what about if you give feedback and maybe it's misunderstood? Okay, you guys are typing. It's interesting watching the chat area because you see all these people typing. Okay, active learning is hindered and not expanded. Ooh. The potential for miscommunication and produces unwanted changes leading to more incorrect feedback known as negative feedback loop. I love it. Great. You guys are on the right track when we're thinking about feedback. When we are giving it or when we're not saying anything, it does make a difference. Or you may want to think about a delay in feedback. There have been times when we said maybe on our syllabus, we're going to turn in an assignment, and then maybe a week later or 2 weeks later, maybe they get feedback. And like I said, that may be too late for some instances, but just think about it. Okay, you guys have already responded. When we give bad feedback, it can demotivate a person. Also, it can focus blame. It can create a defensive attitude or confrontational. And it also leaves the learner guessing, like what is going on. The idea of focus and blame is if you give feedback, let's say it's maybe even the next day or it could be right then, instead of people looking at what you were talking about, they may start talking about you or the situation and miss the whole point when we give bad feedback. When we don't give feedback, that's another issue. That's where I was talking about before. It sends that nonverbal communication. It can lead to mixed messages. And as you guys said too, there's a false assessment of the learner of their own abilities. Because maybe they think they're doing well, and then later they find out they're not doing well. In that process, without giving feedback, there's a lack of trust that can be built with the teacher or clinician. And that kind of hit me when I thought about it. I said, okay, I never thought about the relationship in the classroom as an issue of trust. A person has trusted me to provide them with information. It's also trusting that I will help them when they need something. And then we are building such an environment or atmosphere in our classes or our courses, whether online or face-to-face. Now, giving good feedback. What that does for a person, it motivates them. It can also increase their confidence. It helps them focus on the achievable goals and then possible improvements. And then also, instead of before, we were talking about how they can start shifting blame. Now what they do is they actually think about solutions because they have good information. And then it helps the relationship. So it creates trust and cooperation. Now I want to talk just a little bit about types of feedback. The main one that I thought about with teaching was graded assignments. How we go in and we want to grade those assignments and get those. That's one way we can do it. Now we can do it other ways, but that's one. So I'm thinking about grading. So what is the goal when you grade? When you're grading an assignment or an assessment, instead of just thinking about with working with a lot of our faculty sometimes, now I hear things like, well, students should know how to do this and they should understand this. But in reality, when we're looking at that assignment, even designing that assignment or assessment, we want to talk about the result of this assignment. What will the learner know or understand? And what will they do with the information? So also we know they come to get the content just like now. All of us are in here now. You're listening to me talk about feedback. But in the end, what are you going to do with that information? So when I'm thinking about this presentation, trying to come up with ways that, hey, we could actually use this information. And why is this important? It's important because Confucius says, what I hear, I forget. What I see, I remember. What I do, I understand. Okay. Sometimes seeing and hearing is not always enough. It says that teachers can talk at a rate of 100 to 200 words a minute. But then as a person, they can only concentrate on 50 to 100 words a minute. And that's the key here, is concentrating. Even though I hear the information, I may see you talking about the information, somewhere in there I've got to concentrate on what's going on and try to grasp maybe the terms or the concepts, all that's going on in your head. So when you're thinking about feedback or designing your course, your materials, handout, think about just seeing and hearing is not enough. When you're thinking about designing things like now, you're listening to me. I've asked you to type into the chat, but some people can't listen and take notes at the same time. Learners may not process as we do. We just did a presentation yesterday, and I kept hearing the faculty say, well, I learned this way, and I can do it. Why do the students need this? But understanding that because we are professionals at our craft, and we've been doing it years and years and years, that we may forget how a novice feels or where they are in their process. So trying to break those processes down and then giving them constant feedback and encouragement. It has nothing to do with spoon feeding them, but the fact that we're guiding them and directing them. Okay? But the brain doesn't function as an audio or visual tape recorder. Unfortunately, after we leave today, someone will come into, my office, and I'll forget what maybe even I was talking about. Mine doesn't either, Veronica. But when you're looking at any presentation, and think about courses, like I said, even online, try to take a new approach to say, when I am designing my course, when I'm designing my materials, when I'm lecturing, what kind of questions will my students' brains be asking? Because they're going to be saying, have I heard this or seen this before? Like you're doing with me. Where does this information fit in with what we're talking about. Like you might be saying, why is she talking about the brain? And then thinking in your mind, what can I do with it? And then you have to say, wait a minute, is this the same idea that maybe I had last month? Is it familiar to me already? Because of that, your brain is doing all this processing at the same time. Okay? Now, I found this active learning credo, Silverman, and I love it because it says, what I hear, I forget. What I hear and see, I remember a little. What I hear, see, and ask questions about or discuss with someone, I begin to understand. What I hear, see, discuss, and do, I acquire knowledge and skill. What I teach to another, I master. And so if we think about teaching, if we're thinking about training, whatever it may be, that when we involve people into the process, then they can begin this process of understanding as they hear it and see it, and based on their style of learning or their preference for learning. Because in goal, we want them to master the material. So the ideal is seeing, hearing, and now the component that I want to bring in is video. So seeing, hearing, video, and time to reflect upon it can equal to comprehension. A picture is worth 1,000 words, but the memories are priceless. What does that mean to you? A picture is worth 1,000 words, but the memories are priceless. And I'm also going to put a picture or a video. You can type. Okay, I see people typing. Great. Memories, include emotion and connection. That's great. Can I see people typing? I know when I type in the chat area, my fingers cross up. Memories are integrated in neuron nets. Pictures are more related to visual sensory input and immediate processing. Yes. And we think about our young people, we think about Facebook, we're Instagramming, we're tweeting, pictures. They say so much. Memories keep us connected well after the picture is gone. What I see and do, I remember. I love them. I love it. I love it. Great. When we think about a picture or also a video. Okay, keep that in mind. Hold on to that. Okay, we already talked about it. So screencasting is what I want to talk about now when I talk about video. When I think about doing lectures, because I taught a lot of computer applications, I have to always go in and explain the steps, how to do something, and try to make sure that students understand it, they can see it, they know what needs to be done. So screencasting is a digital video recording that captures actions taking place on a computer screen. And when you are thinking about screencasting, you want to use software that can capture your computer screen. You can also, hopefully you can see me in my webcam. You can use your webcam to record. So screencasting is that recording. Okay. Now screencasting can also have voiceover narration. I could take this entire presentation and actually record. I did hit start sharing. I did. Can you see me now? Okay, yesterday I had everything set up, and today my technology is failing me today, but I am going to proceed anyway. But screencasting can contain voiceover narration, and then also I can do demonstrations. I can show features, okay? So when you're thinking about doing all of recordings, like with this lecture here, I can put my voice, and when I put my voice, I can put the emphasis on certain words. I can put meaning to things. And in an online class, students will begin to know who you are. Okay? So it also captures You can sync files, video, audio. If you don't want to do video, then what you can do is you can make audio files. And then you can also compress them so that you can actually share the information. Now, when you get ready to do it, okay, when you get ready to do screencasting, you are going to need some equipment. You need the video capture software. You need a desktop client or web-based. All of these are options. You can actually go online and you can find some free tools. You can also, if you have a tablet or an iPad, you can find free tools there also that you can do screencasting with. You can also use your phone. In this day and age with our cameras, they're really good quality. We can use our phones and make recordings for our students or for people. So here are just some tools. These are some tools that are here that you can use. I'm not going to go into all of those, and I'm just listing some. For our university, we use Echo 360. I know that Upstate use Echo 360. I'm not sure about the other schools. Are you guys using Echo 360, or what? Do you have any software for recording? Anna, you're from North Carolina. Do you? Lori, Tasha? Integrity. Okay, not yet. Okay. Integrity. Okay. Oh, Camtasia, free tools. Oh, okay. That's interesting. All right. So there are some free tools. I listed a couple here that you can find. But if you go and search for someone, if you need, email me. I didn't give you a list, but there are free sites that you can use for it. Okay. Veronica says you guys are looking into media site. Okay. Well, we use Echo 360 here for our personal capture, and then we also use it for our what we call classroom capture, and it works this way. Personal is for our machines, and then also classroom is we can actually record our lectures, and then we actually upload those to our server, and then our students can watch those. We have a health campus. And so we have dental and nursing students and medical students, and they use the lecture capture all the time, classroom capture all the time for their studies. And what they do is the students go back and they review it. So they love it. They do it all the time. When you have these different tools, you can distribute it by uploading it into your learning management system. You can embed the video. You can do free places like YouTube, or SchoolTube, or TeacherTube. And then also, if you have a learning management system, you can put links in there. So you can get it distributed to people. It works really well. All right, now I'm going to talk about feedback. Okay, so with video, thinking about video, you can do things like podcasts, and you can do an audio or a video podcast. I know that in the USC system, they're using Blackboard, and in Blackboard, you can actually do the plug-in for iTunes. We actually created the students created podcasts for an assignment, and it was about the history of slavery, and they had to put audio to it, and then they actually uploaded those to iTunes. So I didn't put that, but that's one thing you could do. Some of this does require a little skill, but some of the skills are very easy, or what I say repetitive. For example, Veronica listed Gene, which I'm going to talk about later, but pretty much for most recording, you do the same thing. You click and record. Because we're not professionals, meaning this isn't ABC or any network broadcast, what you want to do is you want your recording to be as clean as you can, but don't focus on making it perfect. Focus on your content, focus on how you're going to do it, and then go for it. Try it and see what happens. One thing about recordings on the other end, for example, if you are in class and you're showing me a demonstration, I can actually zoom in so that I can see it better. Okay. So you can use video to record lectures. And then I've talked about classroom capture. You can do interviews or welcome to programs. So when you have an online class, and even face-to-face, make a short video that welcome them to the program. You can welcome them to the course. You can also capture the lecture for that day or interviews. What we did with one of our professors, we did two different things. We started a new EDD program, and we wanted to welcome students to it. So we took our video person and actually recorded a video so that video would be in every course to remind the students of the mission and the purpose of that program as they were going through. We also did interviews. We had a grant writing class, and that professor wanted to let people know that her techniques worked. So we interviewed some of her former students, and we put that as a part of one of the lessons they had to watch and do a discussion and reflect on so they could see that it actually worked. A testimonial, I guess I should say. Also with feedback, think about sometimes you need to talk to the person. I have one professor that we were talking about his course, and he said he hand wrote all of the directions, and I thought that was interesting, or typed them, I should say, typed them up. And I thought about, as a learner, for someone who may be reading, they read slow, and it takes them a while to actually comprehend everything that they're reading, a video would make it plain for them. They could be reading and hearing it, or even an audio recording. So when you have that feedback, now you're talking to a person, not just reading the material. Also, it could be set in the right context. Hopefully, as I'm doing this presentation, your phone's not ringing, but you're thinking, hey, she's smiling now, or she's lifting her hands, whatever it may be. You can also do an email message to your students and attach a video message to them. They can hear your voice. Also with the video, they can see your facial expressions and your gestures, especially if you talk with your hands. You can also use it for editing and grading. When I have been in the place where I have written tons of notes on papers about things students need to correct, and I watched them throw them in as soon as they saw the grade, they went straight to the grade and threw them in the trash can as they walked out the door. Well, when you do handwritten notes, sometimes people think it's personal, but sometimes you cannot read the handwriting. Also, if you're writing, you don't have room for the actual comment. Let's say that the error was done on number 1. And on number 1, you start writing, but number 2 is directly underneath. You have to flip over to the back side of the paper. Then it's hard to see. So with video, though, you can explain your errors. You can actually show corrections. What I like to do in this presentation is actually bring up software and show you, but I figured it wouldn't work well. But the ideal would be I could actually circle points on a paper and tell the student, hey, you see this error right here, this solution, instead of doing this, why don't you add the numbers or multiply the numbers? Now the students not have just my handwritten notes or typed notes. Now they can visually see exactly what I'm talking about. I already talked about before, remember, some people can't listen and take notes at the same time. When you have video, I have control, or the learner has control of the information. They can stop it and start it as they choose. They can adjust the speed. So for example, I know in our digital students, they speed up some parts because maybe they already have those notes or they know that. And then they can slow down the part that they need more to concentrate on. They can rewind it or fast forward the way they need to. And Veronica says it also makes it more personable. Remember that comment I said, learners may not learn or process the way we do? Sometimes as an instructional designer, I work with faculty and I hear people say, well, when I was in school, I did blah, blah, blah. Well, when you were in school, maybe video wasn't an option. So we didn't get to use it the way that maybe our students can use it now. With the videos, the students can replay it without interruptions. They can research terminology. They can go back in and fill in their class notes. Not only that, they can take their textbook and be going through the book as they are watching the video. So don't assume just because a person has a video, they're like, well, they don't need to take notes. No, you can be more engaged with the material. Okay? When you're thinking about also mobility of things, in this day and age, I could watch a recording on my cell phone or I could watch it on my tablet, so I don't have to be tied to a home computer. With our ecosystem, they can watch it anywhere. So just think about those things too, that now it can be mobile for them. I've seen people in the beauty salon taking quizzes on their cell phone. So people use technology different than they used to. Any questions so far? Okay. Now, with also providing feedback, now also think about online and face-to-face, because I believe you can use a lot of these same principles in both classes or a blended classroom. Providing feedback, create a welcome greeting. I talked about that. Introduce yourself. Okay, you can have it written, and then also do a weekly introduction. I call it a weekly overview. When we give students our syllabus, and then we give them, depending on how our course is set up, hopefully you're working with an instructional designer and you make sure that you have modules that are labeled appropriately, that students have a great navigation path. Then what happens is, even though they have that, they're reading it, trying to figure out maybe where they're going. Sometimes they need a guide that says, hey, this week we are focusing on this. And these are the 3 things that are due, upcoming. These are the things to give you a heads up. We have a test in maybe 3 weeks. It helps the student, but as a professor, it helps us also to stay organized and on task. You can also personalize the conversation. When you do a recording, just talk to them like, hi guys, it's so great to see you today, even if it's online, okay? In an online class, what you could do, I didn't put this in here, but you could have them do their introductions, and their introductions can be either pictures or video. That way, everyone can put a face to the name that they see. Another way to provide feedback. All right, let's see. Ooh, I got ahead of myself. Record once and share it often. I know you guys are jumping off your seat right now. Record it once and share it often or every time. Have you ever thought about an FAQ? Maybe instead of just written questions, that you actually record an FAQ for your class. And the question could be, every time you get, how do
Thank you, Winona. And to those who participated in the session, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I did push out